Richardson.
Hey, we're here for Zenny 62. We're at the federal courthouse in San Francisco. The Raiders lawsuit, motion to dismiss, is done. I want to see what. Basically, the long and short of it is the judge has given time to amend 45 days. They'll reconvene on August 21st. And the Raiders the city of Oakland needs to clean up its arguments in the antitrust portion of the lawsuit and the specifically how they are affected and monetarily. Like, one of the things the judge didn't really bite on was, miscellaneous money. He wanted specifics on how the money. What money and from where it was coming from was affecting the loss and how the damages will be divvied up. The other thing was there was an argument about the 32 team restriction, and that one really caught me.
That caught a lot of people in court off guard. As a matter of fact, the league was saying that the city of Oakland never applied for an expansion team, and the city was trying to say that that was never made an option. So
right, well, but of course, my point would be, why would we file for an expansion if we're trying to keep a team here? That's right. The whole reason we're here is because we were trying to keep the Raiders, not to just to have an NFL team. The Raiders were our team already. We said we went into these, supposed contracts and negotiations with the idea that these relocation bylaws were real. And that was one of the striking things for me, was when the judge was basically saying they don't matter. And the basic argument was, if they don't matter, why have them in the first place? The other thing was, and the NFL basically agreed on, was those bylaws aren't to protect the whole city, even though it's clearly worded that they are. They're saying that the judge and the NFL are saying that it isn't specifically to help the city, but it's to benefit the interests of the team and the league. And when the NFL's lawyers and the Raiders lawyer were up there, they're basically saying, we don't care about the city, we only care about ourselves. That's the real gist of it. That's, it's all going to be nice and legal in the way they say it, but they basically said, we don't really care if the city makes money. We don't really care if the fans get what they want. We only care if we're making money, which, I understand that's ugly and it's business. But it also, as a fan, or at this point now, I'm a former fan, because this really, really kind of hurts me, But that stake in the heart.
Knife in the heart right there. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. The number one thing that it opened my eyes to is even though they really didn't want to say that they don't care about the fans and the city, and how, because the judge asked a question, he was like, I know you guys aren't going to come out and say that you don't care about the fans or the city, but since it's been brought up, I have to ask, what is your legal standing here? And the lawyer for the NFL, for all 32 teams, he gets up and he says, do you want reality or do you want the legal gist of it?
Yeah.
And then he goes into, well, our legal gist of it is, and I was like, okay. He never stated reality, and reality is fact. Fact is, these 32 teams only care about profit. And that's what mainly came out of today's meeting. Yeah, I'm just gonna end it there.
Yeah, my kind of take was, again, the argument or the question that's really before the the court, sorry, my thumb's in the way. The question before the court basically was these specific topics. I was talking to Ray Bobbitt, sorry, about what he thought, because I thought maybe this was the whole case. I'm not a lawyer. I don't really know what's happening, as much as Ray does. He's much more in depth. I mean, he's the guy. But he told me, there are 11 points, and this is only a couple of them. They didn't dismiss the lawsuit. The city of Oakland has 45 days to turn in an amendment to fix the errors and to clarify their point. And then he'll decide basically to dismiss again in August. They said 90 days. I talked to Noel Gallo. He said that date is set for August 21st. And the point is that the arguments were specifically antitrust, and then the 32 teams. Is that really a hindrance to? Is that really an antitrust issue? And for a lot of us, like I said, we were like, well, why would we try and file? The NFL lawyers are saying, well, anybody can file. Basically, was his thing. He's like, we're not limited to 32 teams. Anybody can file for a team. But is that real? Because I almost wish somebody would test the theory, because we would see true colors, I think, if somebody went out there and said, we would like to apply for Oakland or
Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah. Anywhere, really, hey, we think we're good enough for a team. How can we apply? How fast do you think that would get shot down? Because that's what I think would happen. I would think that the NFL would say, we're not open to another team. We only have 32 teams for a reason, and that would be the point. Zenny, no, it's funny is they didn't use much. They didn't mention anything about. They did mention cartels, and how the league acted as a cartel, but not in depth at all. They just mentioned it. It was in passing. They didn't mention anything as far as what's going on in St. Louis. They just mentioned that things happened in St. Louis, things happened in San Diego, but nothing specifically pointing to any case law involving the city of St. Louis and their lawsuit. And as far as I know, there's nothing yet going on in San Diego. I feel like they're never going to do anything unless something happens here. Because I think what happens in California's laws and in California cases is more applicable than what happens in Missouri, even though it's all federal. No, there was nothing with RICO. There was no racketeering or any of that stuff. Again, this was all just arguing the points of the antitrust issue, and because so let's go through what happened. The judge comes in. He gave his opinion on. I'm gonna switch answer because his arm's getting.
Okay.
My arm. Yeah, RICO is racketeering. Exactly. He didn't mention anything about racketeering. I'm gonna bump back here into the shade. The sun's moving on us so that we can be in here. But the judge had talked about. He come in and he gave his initial thoughts. He's like, "This is what I'm thinking about ruling," and then make your arguments and sway my opinion. And basically said that Oakland didn't have a third party standing. I'm not really sure on how that works. And then...
well, I'd just like to interject real quick.
Yeah.
He did state at the beginning that Oakland was on the bottom because he stated that he was very skeptical of Oakland's case and that they would have to make a strong case for him not to move to dismiss. He said in court that he's already moving to dismiss, so Oakland has to make a case. And the attorney Quinn and I forget the other fraternity name.
Bruce Simon, I believe.
Bruce Simon. They both they took turns arguing their case for the city of Oakland. It just didn't seem like they had a game plan together for the judge. The judge and the NFL seem to be, I hate to say it like this, but they seem to be in tandem on their points.
Yeah, the judge didn't really seem to really understand what Oakland was trying to get across. Again, with the idea of the relocation bylaws, Oakland was basically saying, this is our contract. We want, we went into our contracts with Oakland, with the Raiders, believing that these bylaws would be real. They would be something that we could count on, so that the Raiders just don't skip town. They kept making the statement, though, that these bylaws were created so that you just don't have teams bouncing from every city they're supposed to be, that they're home cities, and they're just going to the highest bidder. And Oakland argued that it didn't go to the highest bidder, and that the rules specifically said from those bylaws that these rules are supposed to protect the home markets, and shouldn't go to the highest bidder, but to try and keep a team where it is. The judge didn't seem to understand why moving to another city would be problematic. How does moving to another city hurt Oakland? Oakland wasn't very specific in some of their arguments. They just said money. Basically in the court documents. Let me see what this is. Did they mention the Raiders lied? I can't read the whole thing. To the city. That was kind of mentioned. They weren't really looking at evidence today. They were just listening to the arguments. And then if he decides that they make good arguments, basically that he'll look at the evidence. But he told them, get your stuff together, stop discovery. You can still talk about discovery and what you're going to give to each other, but we're not doing discovery at this point. The judge did not know the Raiders lied. The judge actually said that he had some ideas regarding the case and what he thought, but he said, hey, I read the papers.
Right.
But he was like, he wants to keep it based on the law, not just on his own personal opinions. He's like, he specifically said, I don't want to use these things to distract him from the legal stuff. Yeah, the main point is the heart lies are part of it. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we were. There's a lot of the pro-Raider or pro lawsuit, pro Oakland people who were just do it. Oh my gosh, because I'll be honest, he's right. The judge seemed to be very much on the side of the NFL and the Raiders. They didn't really seem to want to listen too much about what Oakland had to say. There was the point of contract. Oakland entered into a contract. It's not just the wording of the contract, but the circumstances around the contract, not just the contract itself. And the judge didn't like that, even though and they're reading what it says. So I hope that it was mentioned basically, Zenny had told me, he's like, maybe they're just arguing for the sake of, you clarify your thought.
Right.
Prove to me that this is the idea that you have, and, all right, and upside down. All right, here we go. Are we back?
We're back.
Sorry, my arm got tired. So hopefully that is the case, because the judge was real tough. He was tough but firm. Like I said, when Jim got up there to argue, he basically said, "Hey, here's my ruling. Now change my mind." And then so Jim Queen got up there. He stammered quite a bit. He seemed out of sorts.
He seemed flustered.
Yeah,
He seemed flustered from the first series of questions from the judge. One of the things that I think has to happen is they've got to take the conjecture out of their argument and install some facts. They need to install things like, if they had this contract with Oakland, the Raiders and the NFL had this contract with Oakland. One thing they need to show is how, or not just Oakland, any NFL city, how it protected them in the past to keep their teams from moving in the past. When did the NFL say no to other teams that wanted to jump to other cities? None of that was brought up, and that was a surprise to me. That would be something if I did not want a team to leave. If I was a lawyer and I didn't want a team to leave, I would show this is when the NFL said no to a team and or to a city that was bidding for a team. None of that ever came up. The only thing that came up is when Oakland showed, the city of Oakland, is when they showed the Raiders tried to go to Los Angeles, and then when they tried to move to Las Vegas. They need to show when a team tried to move to another city. Like when the Browns tried to move. The Browns, when they first tried to move from Cleveland, there were a couple of cities that were up for bid that the NFL said no to. Why did they say no to those teams? That, I don't know why that didn't come up. It's just peculiar to me. But, I'm not a lawyer, so...
Yeah, we always got
I don't know what the long game here is in Oakland. I do think they purposely entered conjecture as part of their game plan. I just want to see what the whole game plan is.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation. That was another thing is, again, with that 32 team limit, the judge was basically saying, how can you prove? Sorry, the sun's moving on me again. How can you prove that? How can you prove that you were removed from the market? Again, this is the NFL said, well, anybody can apply for a team, which again, I would love for somebody to prove that. I would love for the city of Oakland to go and file for an expansion team right now. Just do it. Just see what happens. Like, again, I think I think they'd get shut down. But the point with the 32 teams was that, anybody could move anywhere, and it didn't matter, but it did. And it was weird because it seemed like a really backwards argument. There was something else that I wanted to put in there, and I totally lost it. But that 32 team part was kind of that killer. The judge was saying that they wanted, if he was going to consider the 32 team limit as an antitrust issue, he would have to have. He said any city should be able to the NFL and the judge basically said the way he sees it is that any team should be, or any city or anyone should be able to apply to get a team. I'm like, so if Jeff Bezos decided he wants to own an NFL team, he's got the billions of dollars, would the NFL agree? Would they let him have that team? I don't know. Give me a second here. I'm gonna take a look. It looks like some of the judges or some folks are leaving. Sorry. I guess not. I'm gonna move into the shade here where the lighting is better and I don't get a sunburn. But basically, he said that he was saying that anybody can get a team. I didn't see what Unknown Raider guy said. My opinion is that JPA would have agreed with filing lawsuit back in 2017, they would have got a better chance. Probably. I think they sat on it for too long. Oh, I'm keep glossing over the 32 teams part. But the idea was that had the NFL, or sorry, let me gather my thought here. Anybody could get a team. It's just that's just what happens to be. 32 just happens to be the number that they have now. It used to be 28. And,
Right.
So they made it sound like anybody could get a team. Basically, they were, why, if that's the case, why didn't Las Vegas get an expansion team and you leave Oakland in its current market? That would be a valid thing. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry, some people are coming out. So more likely Oakland's lawsuit is going to get this. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get dismissed. Small parts of it might get dismissed. If they can't, sorry, he's good. People are coming out of the, let's go see what's going on here. People are coming out of this has nothing to do with the NFL, something else. Sorry guys, I'm going back and forth here. Yeah, there's some other case that just came out and I guess is a big deal. There's a lot of other stuff going here. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking expansion teams, why not give Las Vegas an expansion team? Why is it that we have to fight first to keep the team that we have and then file for an expansion? Thank you, Zenny. Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like because one of the guys had a Union T-shirt on. But if this was an issue, there was only their lawyer. There was one lawyer from the Raiders and a couple. There was the NFL lawyer and his partner. And then there was the guy from the Department of Justice who came all the way from Washington to do absolutely nothing, which is kind of funny because the judge was joking with him about, you came all the way from Washington? He's like, yeah.
That part.
Yeah, I mean, they seemed really buddy, which was really kind of horrifying, but at the same time, the judge also seemed to know Bruce Simon pretty well, so... yeah. I'm trying to wish Oakland was just in Oakland right now. I would have stopped my favorite Nations. Yeah, Nations guys, good burgers. I don't know what the Trump stuff was about. I missed that Trump part. What's this Trump stuff about? I missed that. Did I get something? Something happened behind me?
The guy, he just got denied bail, so somebody's supposed to come pick him up.
What guy?
And
is that what's going on over here?
That's what's going on over there.
Oh.
He's supposed to be extradited back to Peru.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but...
Sorry, we're trying to figure out what's going on here. Oh, yeah, the DOJ guy. Yeah. I just say, it's got to be somebody who knows somebody because, we were talking about that in the hallway. It's like, who's this guy? Yeah, exactly. These are guys who are helping their buddies out.
No one's coming to pick him up. Imagine that. So he just walked out of court. Literally, just walked out of court.
Don't stop and talk to the cameras.
Yeah.
Leave. Yeah, we'll see what's going on here.
So
Yes, exactly. The Department of Justice it's all Trump stuff. Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought maybe somebody came behind me and said something, and I didn't catch it because there's a lot of commotion going on here with this other case that's happening. So, bottom line is, 45 days to clean up their arguments. Come back, and we do this again. No, I didn't read that, Zenny. I'll have to check that out. because I feel like a lot of this stuff is happening because there's just a lot of too much right now in this country. I feel like Trump is driving a lot of this action for exactly. People are using Trump either because he's a buddy or a business associate or just another rich guy to do their dirty work, and using him to use stuff like the DOJ, Homeland Security, and all these other things to do their dirty work for him. Mostly so it looks like it has a legal face. Oh yeah, Libby got on Trump's bad side, and now he's out to get her. He can't leave well enough alone. Now everything's a sanctuary, this or that, and
It's gonna catch up to him.
Yeah.
And his buddies. Like I read the other day, you can't. They were talking about Trump. You can't have all of these dirty people around you and not be dirty yourself. So eventually, right now they don't want to prosecute a president in office. I understand. But
how about we get him out of office?
Yeah.
And then prosecute him.
In 4 years, even if he wins re-election, in 4 years, statute of limitations is not going to run out in 2020. It's going to be a wrap.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just don't want him in a position of power. If he fell off the face of the earth after this and went into hiding, I'd be happy as long as he didn't have any interaction with the rest of us. But as far as this case goes, it's not over. The judge seemed like he was going to dismiss things right away. Like I said, Quinn got up there. He stammered a bit. Bruce Simon really saved him. Bruce Simon got up there, had his stuff together. He was reading off this, and this. These are what, because the judge was saying, well, it doesn't say this, but then Bruce Simon come in and he says, yes, but it does say this. So it seems like the judge in this case doesn't really grasp the situation, or he doesn't want to grasp the situation, or maybe he's in somebody's. I hate to say it, he's already made up his mind, and maybe he's in somebody's pocket. Hopefully, there is grounds for an appeal.
I was going to say it if you weren't going to say it. It's definitely in somebody's pocket if he's not going to hear the facts. So one of the things I did notice in the case, in the hearing, is upstairs, the judge proceeded to interject himself every time the Oakland lawyers were making a point. When the NFL or the Raiders lawyer got up there and they were making points, they were allowed to finish. They were allowed to articulate themselves in tone and move to their next point. That didn't happen with the Oakland lawyers.
Right. It seems like he was challenging him every single time.
Right.
But this, what if that? And then, I mean, most of the time was given to the city of Oakland, mostly to Jim Quinn. I'm missing her name. The city of Oakland attorney. She didn't do anything. She hung back and she observed and took notes. But Jim Quinn, Bergen Afterpy, basically, him and his and Bruce Simon were the guys who were really making stuff happen here. It just seemed very disappointing that that Oakland was as seemingly unprepared, and that maybe that the judge had come in and already kind of had an idea of what he wanted to do. Yeah, Oakland does have the burden of proof. He didn't throw it out. He did. I think Bruce Simon saved him by coming in, and because I think if Jim Quinn was going to keep going, I felt like the judge was going to squash him. Yeah,
it was going to get tossed.
Yeah.
The judge even asked, "Hey, why don't you give your little assistant a try?" And he had to let the judge know, "I'm not the little assistant." I am actually,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, the judge is supposed, the judge is supposed to challenge you. That's kind of the whole point, is to challenge your thought process and the law and how this works in the law. And I get that, again, I'm trying to keep that in mind personally when things happen like this. What's the point of it? Why does the judge seem to be against me when he might not really be against you as much as he's making you have to think about what you're saying before you say it, and be clear about what you're saying and how you're saying it. Wait. Uh-oh. I'm gonna wait for Zenny here. Yes, no bias for sure. There seemed to be bias, but not bias. It's kind of a weird thing. He was tougher on Oakland than he was on the NFL, but the NFL does have that, or the city of Oakland does have that burden of proof. I wish what they would do in the courtroom is there seemed to be a lot of Oakland, but sometimes he was talking about the Raiders and not the city of Oakland. So I wish they would just call the Raiders, not Oakland,
right.
and call Oakland, the city, Oakland. If the judge doesn't say, what would... I don't know what would happen next. I feel like if they can't bring
I have a dinner
some...
with Muhammad Ali. Give me a kiss on the cheek. For real, it's true.
I feel like I feel like if this gets squashed in August, it's over. I feel like everybody was just trying to keep a happy face right now. I see your point, Zenny, about we'll see what happens. I mean, nobody's doing anything. It was pushed back already, so the judge on both sides would have been prepared. I felt like some people were unprepared. I'm going to get out of whatever's going on over there. There's a bunch of news cameras, and they're talking to whatever this other case is going on here. I think if it doesn't go forward, come the next motion to dismiss, if it doesn't go forward, it's over. Don't misread. I know there's a lot of stuff going on here. Yep, I'm gonna get hit by a door. Oh yeah, I don't want to misread, and I do have to think about what I'm seeing versus reality. Again, the judge came through, made a decision. This is my thought. Now changed my mind, and I liked that he did that. Yes, plaintiffs have burden of proof. Exactly. I mean, that's with a criminal case or anything else. And I hope the city of Oakland does have specifics. They have 45 days. They were originally given 30 days, but they asked for 45 days. And the judge had no problem with that. They said they're supposed to come back in 90 days. So yeah, August 21st would be the 45 days. So yeah, we'll see. I'll have to see if I can get a date on the whatever's in 90 days. And then because this is July, August, September, October would be the next hearing. No, I don't think he was being biased. I mean, it just had that feel, but then you kind of see his interactions with everybody, because he's making a lot of jokes with the DOJ guy, and then he was making jokes with the NFL guys, and then he didn't seem really warm with Quinn.
It was all business with the city of Oakland.
It was but when Simon got up there, when Bruce Simon got up there, he had jokes for him. I guess maybe he's argued cases before him before. Was that previously? Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's this case is not dead yet. What we're saying here is a lot of standard. Yeah. There's still fight. dog in the fight still. We'll see what happens in when they file their amended briefs, and then hopefully they put forth a better argument than they have with more specifics, and which fits the arguments of being an antitrust case. So I'm trying to read the comments here. Yes. Oakland filed the lawsuit. I would read into. Yeah. I mean, like I said, that was first glance. I just thought that was the case, and then no, the judge was very, very particular about trying to keep it unbiased. Like he said, he's seen the newspaper reports. He has his own thoughts and opinions on what should be happening. He's like, but that's not legal. He's like, he's here to hear legal arguments, not opinions about how things should go. And I got that right away, and I'm like, that's fair. And so every time that I would hear something that I would be like, oh my God, he doesn't get it. I'm like, well, maybe he does get it. It's just that this is the part of the law that I don't get. Maybe there's something more to it. You will not be hearing from Godfather here. He didn't. I don't know what the thing is, but he has not wanted to be on any of these live streams, and I'm not going to dig for it. So I don't. Some stuff was deleted, so I don't know what that was. What do you think, Don?
Oh, about the Godfather?
Oh, no. I just in general.
Oh, in general, what I think is the city of Oakland got to get their ducks in order, and they got to put together a better argument than conjecture. They've definitely 100% both lawyers need to be on the same page, not a different argument from each lawyer, or they argue different points in a different manner, and that's just not gonna get it, because they're confusing the judge, and
Definitely.
that was like obvious, and two, it's just not good form. It's not good teamwork. If they want to be successful, they got to hammer down how the city of Oakland is affected, by this antitrust monopoly by the NFL. They've got to prove, why they can't get into the market. That's a big point right there. They never proved how they were locked out of the market of the NFL.
As far as I'm concerned, I am the Godfather. There you go, Zenny.
Yeah. Right. So as soon as they go and they show how they were locked out of the NFL market, out of money, out of tax revenue, and tax implications, because the city of Oakland is going to have to pay a lot of money for the team being there and the team to leave. It's not
Yeah, there seemed to be some argument about whether it was an argument about a tenant law, or as far as renting the Coliseum. In what cases would Oakland get this money? Are we talking? Is this? They'd have to prove that it's not just a case of. Man, I have notes on this, but I can't turn off the camera here. But whether or not it's a case of it being an antitrust issue as much as a rent issue. Is this a tenant lease agreement? Is this the right place for that? Where the damage is. Again, I think I think the judge is siding with the DOJ that the taxes aren't revenue. Oh, the other thing is how is this different? He kept asking. He's like, well, why can't teams just move? Why can't these things just happen? And the one point that Oakland kept making is it's different than other businesses because It's different than other businesses because the city and the community is investing money into the facility. And that was part of that tenant law and stuff about whether municipalities can recover those monies for making infrastructure repairs or investments. And I think this was regarding building Mount Davis and getting that money back. So that's another thing that they have to solidify in their arguments.
Because they're not going to get that money from any other team, especially the work that they did to the Coliseum to improve it, to put on Mount Davis. The city is still paying on that. The Raiders still owe the city of Oakland of that money. And now they're just,
But that money's technically, not owed by the city or by the Raiders, but it was supposed to be recovered in revenue and paid for with the revenue of the games. But by the Raiders leaving, that revenue won't happen.
That revenue stream is gone.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think we should be wrapping this up. I don't know if there's really much more we can tell you. It was, I think that was, yes. At this point, Mount Davis is a mistake. All it really is useful now for is a few extra seats, and then
that are not being used by the Oakland A's, by the Oakland Raiders.
Right. I think it's. I can't get my notes because it's in this phone that I'm doing the live stream from. So it's just some minor stuff about there was a very specific case law, something about Rohnert Park and about how municipalities can recover costs about infrastructure upgrades and monies that were taken from tax revenue and other streams to pay for that. My notes are just little stuff. I was taking names and basically bullet pointing what the judge was saying because honestly I thought it was going to go one. I thought it was just going to straight up get dismissed, and that seemed to be what he was saying. And then he let the lawyers argue that you can change my mind. This is my thoughts. Change my mind, and it looks like they did change his mind to a point. He basically gave him more time to get the facts. And that's what he wants. He, just like Donald said, he's like, the judge wants facts. They don't want miscellaneous numbers. They want this numbers for parking, this numbers for garbage cleanup, this numbers for, police or whatever it is that these numbers are affecting them. Because apparently Oakland's argument has a lot of holes and just nothing precise. It's I can't think of the word.
Conjecture.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of conjecture, and it's just that
assumptions, conjecture, and assumptions. They assume that they're going to get this. They assume that they're going to get that. They assume that no one else is going to give them the opportunity if the NFL leaves.
Right. Yeah. There were a few things that really stuck out, and when the case when especially when it went to the NFL lawyers was basically and I don't know if I said this already, I probably have. It really came down to these teams and the 32 teams and whether it's a closed market and stuff and the relocation bylaws. It really just came down to it's all about money. We don't really care about Oakland, and we don't really care about the fans. That was the part that really kind of stuck with me in this whole thing. Is it was never about us as fans. It was never about us as a city or a community. It was really just about them. And I don't know if that will have any bearing on this case, but the judge did say, these are arguments for a jury. He's like, these are arguments that would sway a jury, but not the judge. So hopefully we get to have a jury because I think some of the stuff was pretty dirty. And whether lying and all this other stuff is going to have any bearing, hopefully we get to the point of actually being able to bring that up, show evidence, share emails and phone calls and letters and not just between Oakland and the Raiders, but the NFL and the Raiders, and the NFL and the Raiders in Las Vegas, and what was it? It was a Geiger, the Disney guy, and Carmen Policy, and all those guys were involved in LA, and it'd be really interesting to see what really happened. That's honestly one of the things that I'm really kind of hoping for in all this. I mean, yeah, I want Oakland to get their money and everything. It doesn't personally affect me, other than maybe more police on the streets, or some potholes filled, or some books in the library.
Right.
But I really want to see what's going on behind the scenes. I want to see what's really happening in NFL boardrooms and in those closed door meetings when they, when the NFL owners meetings are happening. What's really going on. I wonder if they record those things. Like,
It wouldn't be smart. It wouldn't be a good idea for them to record it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but at the same time, I wonder if they do just to protect each other. It's like, this is what's happening, I wonder if those owners are getting sneaky, or, have a, cell phone under the desk, or...
That's one of the reasons why it's not going to be recorded. If it was, let's take just for instance, and this is like totally off the track, but the Colin Kaepernick case, if they were to record stuff like that, he would be able to easily prove that would be leaked, and
Right.
they would be able to prove that he's being blackballed.
Well, they made it settled. They settled that. See, and so we never got to hear that, and that's what's interesting. Yeah. Oh, well, Zenny's saying they do record. I would love to see those recordings. I would love for them to be forced to hand over those recordings. This is, like I said, for me personally, I want to see what's really happening. This is like anything. You got all these nutbags you're going to talk about trying to go to Area 51. I'm like, all right, don't get your face shot off, because that might happen.
Well,
but
gonna be
hey,
worse
man,
than that.
I'm like, hey, if you find some aliens, I want to know. I want to know some top secret projects that are going on. We had this whole thing this week with that face app with the old faces, and like, oh, it's some Russian company. I'm like, I want to know if they're using it for some covert purposes. Suddenly my name and my old man face is going to be going, go Donald Trump or something, in the next election cycle. At the same time, I got to say, if you're worried about the Russians getting your stuff, you need to be worried about Google and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, because they've got all your data, plus backdoors to the government. I mean, they're just as bad as any
government
foreign
entity.
government. Yeah,
Any government entity.
I mean, I got friends who work for some of these organizations, and man, there's some dirty stuff that's happening. And if you don't think that other countries are messing with us, or if you think other countries are trying to mess with our elections and we're not messing with other people's elections, yeah, I got news for you. Because if we can't get our guy in your country elected, we'll just put him there. We'll bomb the crap out of you and put him there. So there's things like this. I always like to see what's going on in the
that
back.
guy's getting arrested now.
Oh, do you think he's getting busted now?
Yeah, he's getting arrested.
Oh, that's too bad. I don't know, everybody just ran away.
Yeah, they're all running because they said no one was going to come pick him up, but I guess somebody decided to come pick him up.
Like I said, don't stick
That's the
around,
side-
don't be on the news.
That's the side that law enforcement is usually on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we got anything else to add, but
I don't have anything else to add.
well, it's been fun. This has been enlightening. Hopefully I'll be back here when the next one comes. Us or Zenny. Yeah, let's go see what's going on over here. So I'm going to turn the camera around. Oh, it looks like Grizz and the guys are on the television. Oh, Noel Gallo is, I don't know what's going on. It's like they're giving a little statement over here. See if I can get in on that. I don't know if anything was actually going on with the
We want that to stay here.
You want to listen to what Grizz has to say? That's a wrap. We missed that. Yeah, I don't think anything's going on here. Well, I guess that's us. We're just gonna we're gonna wrap it up here. So, all right. So that's a wrap for us. We'll figure we'll be back for the next round of People's Court with the Raiders in Oakland, and hopefully there's some resolution. And yeah, I don't see, we're back on the street here, so I don't see anything happening. So thanks you guys for watching. It's been fun, and we'll see you later.
See you next time.
All right. Whoops, my big old thumb in the way.